Hello and welcome. This is Govindra Jathiraj and my colleague Abhan. And exporters are banks are locked in a legal tussle and a blame game over Forex derivative losses during the financial crisis of 2008. The question we are asking is, who is responsible for this mess? Do we know the answer today? To present the exporter side of the story, we will be joined by S. Dhananjayan, advisor of Forex Derivative Consumers Forum, on why they think many of India's reputed banks misled them. Up ahead, exporters and banks are locked in a legal tussle and a blame game over Forex derivative losses during the financial crisis of 2008. The question we're asking is, who is responsible for this mess? To present the exporters side of the story, we're joined by S. Dhananjayan, advisor of Forex Derivative Consumers Forum, and what they think of the banks who misled them.
Now, the Supreme Court today allowed more time to the CBI to file a reply over its probe against 22 banks, including the State Bank of India and ICICI Bank, over derivative losses suffered by various exporters in 2008, which was also the height of the global financial crisis. The banks faced the possibility of a CBI probe over alleged violation of RBI norms and provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act, or FEMA, in 2008.
Right, so we're now joined by S. Dhananjayan, advisor of Forex Derivative Consumers Forum, the association of exporters that's seeking damages from the commercial banks after reportedly suffering losses to the extent of 30,000 crore rupees. The association has alleged that the banks willfully sold them these derivative products despite being fully aware of the risks involved. Mr. Dhananjayan, very good evening and thank you so much for joining us. So first question, can you just give us a sense on when this happened, more precisely, and why are companies still sitting on these losses?
Yeah, basically everything happened in the year 2007. Where there was an unprecedented fall of US dollar vis-a-vis Indian rupees, whereby US dollar went down from 45 rupees to 39 rupees within a span of 60 days. During that period, few banks, mostly private and some of them public, they came up with these exotic derivative instruments which they projected as a profit management tool, stating that this will mitigate the losses otherwise faced by exporters on their hedge instruments. And based on their advice, many exporters signed the contracts based on the advice of the banks. But subsequently, due to currency movement, this resulted in insurmountable and unbearable losses to several exporters across the country, thereby damaging the entire economic fabric of mostly several small and medium enterprises in places like Tirupur and other places across the country. That is the background in which these things happened. And upon investigation, we came to know that these are grossly sold in violation of Reserve Bank guidelines and FEMA regulations, which govern the sale of derivative products in India. And these are, by no stretch of imagination, can be termed as hedge instrument, which is permitted under the exchange regulations. Whereas these are mostly speculative products, which are not to be sold in India. And
right,
this has created... right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, but the banks obviously have their own position on this. I think, their point obviously has been that one is that the exporters were willing customers, and the second is that you could also presumably have benefited if the currency movement had happened in the other direction.
True, but there is one difference where the exporter is benefiting, then the benefit is restricted to, say, $1,000 or $5,000. Whereas in the other case, the exporter is losing. He is losing 5 crores or 10 crores in the same contract. That's precisely the point we are stressing. There is a stop loss provision available for the banker. Whereas as far as the exporter is concerned, it is a bottomless pit.
Right.
Where the exporter is exposed to enormous risk.
Right. So can you tell us where it stands today? There is a case going on. You've got the Orissa High Court involved. Yes. Where do you stand today and what's next?
Basically, Orissa High Court has ordered CBI to register a case based on the prima facie observations of the CBI and RBI report, which indicted the banks that they have violated FEMA and RBI guidelines. Based on that, Orissa High Court ordered CBI to register a case and pursue the investigation.
Right.
But FIMDA, an association of bankers, they have got a stay of the CBI inquiry, which actually our forum, Forex Derivative Consumer Forum, have actually filed an implemented petition before the Supreme Court, which came up for hearing today. Right. And ultimately, that was allowed, and the case is presently being adjourned to 8th of November.
Okay, Mr. Dhananjay, just one last question. But of course, the association is alleging that banks willfully sold them these products despite being aware of the huge risks involved. Would the association and your fellow exporters not also have some kind of a responsibility to actually check, what you're buying into? And I mean, didn't you actually sort of, look and see what kind of risks were involved before buying into these products? I mean, is it really completely the bank's fault?
Absolutely, you are right. But normally in a small-scale undertaking, the exporter is relying entirely on the bank for any exchange-related requirements. And when it comes from top banks of the country, especially some of them public sector banks, the exporter obviously believed the words of the banker and signed the contracts, which actually subsequent investigation revealed that they are in gross violation of the law of the land. And the Reserve Bank guideline actually mandates the banks to verify several or observe several guidelines before selling these kind of derivative products, which has been grossly flouted in the sale of these exotic derivative products.
All right, pleasure having you on the show, Dhananjay, and we'll stay on top of developments on that front. Thanks so much for joining us.
In this show, he is wishing all of you a very happy Eid, and we leave you with visuals of the festival celebration.